just a long lost look in your eyes. Brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Oh, don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go, to the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, to the light we go.
We're back, guys. In between games 1 and 2, had a bit of a fun one here. Afreeca strutting their stuff, looking just fabulous tonight, and certainly cementing themselves as the second place, although they need one more win to do it officially.
They do pick up the match win here, regardless of results. Going forward, that KT versus Afreeca series will sadly be a dead rubber on the last day, where it'll be fun to see the teams coming into playoffs, but sadly will not impact the standings. BBQ needed to beat the Afreeca Freecs to actually make that final match be for the title of second place. Title of this video should be some sick outplays by Keen, as he was casually able to jump over the Emperor's Divide and make this play work. And then from there, some great face checks. I love the play to use the Essence Flux around the Baron to make the enemy team think that you're already onto it, and then clean up some kills. Afreeca's too clean, smart drafting, everything coming together and making Afreeca clearly our second best team in Korea.
Shirley was very dominant in this game. We had a couple of moments where BBQ, even from 10,000, 12,000 gold behind, made things interesting, or at least they made things look interesting, and then Keen just smiles and takes a quick kill in the end. And well, by this point, they were just playing with their food, and the game eventually did go over to the side of Afreeca. So what I want to see is Afreeca going to win 2 games in a row, or are they going to pick some weird things? Are they going to troll, bring in some more Nocturne? I'm not so sure, Papa, but as you guys can see here, very, very one-sided in terms of gold, damage, everything you would expect from being up 17,000 gold.
End result, as you say, comfortable victory for Afreeca. Numbers for the Jungle Jax not looking good. I really think the Jax needs to go on the shelf right next to the Camille jungle as a no-no for any of our junglers here. I know what he was trying to do, but unfortunately when those ganks didn't happen after Keen's top lane ascent, and that he was never baited in the top side, too easily became an onlooker watching as Afreeca Freecs closed out the game. So really like the early Zac there. I think my MVP choice would be Keen. I'd be surprised if they went elsewhere. And they go to Keen, who unfortunately has been on the team where he's had Tucson and Kuro pick up 18 MVPs between the two of them. Only 2 for Keen. So in moderation, Keen gets the respect. But man, this guy's had a good season.
Yeah, seems like the obvious choice for MVP here. It was his second time, even with all the other carries they have on this Afreeca lineup. And at the top, it says, is it really true that it's been under a year since I've debuted? Well, yes, that is the truth. And he's really coming to his own up on the top side, replaced Marin very easily, and is looking quite good and fits well in this Afreeca roster.
A really young player as well, I believe, under 18 years of age, so it's only recently, like you say, the second round robin.
He just graduated high school, actually.
Yeah, second round robin of summer is when he made his debut, and already you can't remember the LCK without him. He's doing a great job. He's ultra reliable. He can play the carries and the tanks. He's going to be around for many years to come, that's for sure.
Yeah, interested to hear from him in the MVP. We get so many MVP interviews with Kuro, with Tucson, with Spirit. You know, they're getting old. Let's talk to some other people like Keen and see what he has to say. But BBQ, they've had some time to go back to the drawing board, think about the draft, what went wrong in terms of their play as well. And I'm excited to see what they'll bring on the red side. The red side having a lot of success here in terms of it. It definitely feels like it's the stronger side so far.
And then Afreeca Freecs could just pick anything. They picked 3 scaling lanes with Anivia and Jinx and had the shortest game of the season. So on the blue side, they've been prone to just locking in stuff because it's fun. And that's pretty scary for a team that just keeps winning.
So guys, Ban and Pick is ready. Let's hop into that right now and see how it's going to go down. Well, here we go, Varus. Always seems like it's banned nowadays. Every single time another Rise ban.
Do notice.
That flex pick.
Do notice, Valdez, no sign of Spirit in game number 2. They're giving a full series to Mowgli. Unless Mowgli drops a game, then I imagine Spirit will jump in. Don't want to deal with the gangplank. We'll see how high priority the Camille is, as Camille has increasingly been one of those must-pick champions and so powerful with the gangplank ban, not even a scaling option against it. I actually don't agree with BBQ's ban because they banned away the Xayah. I think against Afreeca in particular, you ban Rakan. Against most teams, if you want to interrupt Xayah Rakan, you just ban the Xayah. So I understand against conventional teams, when you got Tucson on the lineup, ban the Rakan.
Well, you mentioned the Camille. Another guy that we saw come in very fast, if it wasn't banned, was Swain. But Afreeca decides to go ahead and pick up Sejuani here. So BBQ, let's see if they have that practiced on 8.5. Perhaps they want to be the ones to pick up the Swain pick.
Maybe Trick will go full mad scientist and show us something. They've been flashing the Nocturne forever, but the Swain, given the priority on patch 8.5, is a more likely pickup. We saw KT flex it on red side in game number 1 of series number 1 and eventually ended up being a mid lane pick. Wait and see what the decision is there from BBQ. With Caitlyn available, they're looking to just take away the Ezreal from Kramer. See if Kramer wants to go Caitlyn, if he has a different idea on the blue side. When you see Ezreal, there's a bigger chance for something like a Tristana that we expected to be much lower priority after the latest nerfs, but definitely a chance we see it from Kramer.
Yeah. You mentioned in the past how strong the can't really remember the name. The picks that can go in, the flex picks, that's what they are, can be. And Swain, not just the power of his toolkit, but also the fact that you can pick him very early as a flex pick makes him just so nice to pick up that early.
Speaking of.
Yeah, and Sion, another one of those guys, looking to potentially pick it here. Also the Tom Kent for Tucson, even with the Braum available, decides, hey, let's go for the Tom Kent. He's played more Alistar and Braum overall in terms of stats.
Kuro is one of our legacy Sion mid players, the first to play it in Korea 3 years ago. But waiting to see if the hitbox nerfs on the Roar of the Slayer makes it more unlikely for it to be a mid lane Sion. Haven't seen one previous to the change. Bit of manners here, you would imagine, from Tempt. Are we actually going to see a second Xinjiao of the night? You would think not.
Please no.
And the Zac being open does confirm that's the tank jungler. Going to be facing off in the jungle here.
Yeah, looking to pick that up. Was given over to Mowgli the second time, or the first time rather. So just trading it back and forth. Let's see where they want to target their bans, because we mentioned the double flex pick might be a little bit harder to actually target some lanes, but the Camille seems like an obvious one against Keen.
And maybe 180 carry ban could be considered. This season, there's not really been any priority on the Caitlyn coming through from Kramer's 1-1, so it's not been a big pick for him. Would be a strong choice into the Ezreal for a pushing lane on the side of Afreeca. I'm really excited to see if we really do see a mid lane Sion come through. But I imagine BBQ are not going to commit to the role that the Swain is going to be played in this game until the final pick. And yes, we do just see a Caitlyn ban to give a bit more breathing room for the Ezreal in bot lane.
Going down to the last ban here, expected another support ban. It is the Thresh this time around. Going to be taken off the board.
Now look for a support lock in here. Usually you'd imagine there would be support taking it last pick to counter pick for the Ezreal to guarantee the lane, but they're feeling strong enough to go through, and they already know it's going to be the Tahm Kench, so they just pick for comp. Jhin would be favorite in other regions, but against the very tanky front line, I think Jhin value here will be pretty low, even though it's a legacy pick coming through from Kramer. Speaking of legacy picks, he just locks in Jinx again.
That was quick.
Well, he's got the most beef in front of him, so a hyper carry did fit the comp, and we see Jinx in the LCK from Kramer for the second time. Got the information on the flex pick now coming through for the Sion.
What's it gonna be? Certainly Keen has played more Sion over the course of 2018, but this mid-Sion thing a bit newer, so it is going to be the Karma, certainly helps out the composition.
This would be a great comp to play Anivia against if you are on the side of BBQ. Would put Swain into the Sion lane, and Banner of Command would be frustrating to deal with. But this is the sort of comp that Anivia is back in the meta to face. She's very strong against tanks. Tempt has not played any Anivia on the season. Azir is much more standard for him. It's a wall, but of course on a much longer cooldown. And it will be BBQ picking up the Azir. Would have loved to see the Anivia, but it's a champion that a lot of people are out of practice on. We won't see it this time from Tempt.
Yeah, certainly feels a little bit disappointing. You know, you want to see the analysis points come in and everything work out as you would like to see it, but Azir for Tempt also makes a ton of sense. But again, he's the 1-9 on the pick. It's not really his Azir play. I think he had a couple plays tonight that were pretty good in terms of, you know, what he was facing against. But we'll see if he can up that record a little bit more, as he is going to be going up against the Karma with the help of the Zac. We've seen the Karma can be in trouble sometimes. I think Kuzan came back, tried to play it, and just got laughed upon by just an aggressive jungler. So we'll see if they focus the mid lane at all.
You'd love to focus the bot lane, but hard to make it happen against Tahm Kench. If Jinx falls behind, the Afreeca team comp largely falls apart. So Jinx here with 3 items, Infinity Edge, 2 Zeal items, will be the true win condition for the side of Afreeca Freecs. Expect to see Kuro build plenty of utility in the form of Athene's Unholy Grail and the also Ardent Sensor to buff up the Jinx. So protect the Kramer comp, an old favorite of CJ Entus and Afreeca Freecs in 2017, brought back another style that Afreeca is looking to perfect.
Certainly it's pretty good practice going into playoffs. You know, you want to play it on the big stage and see if, also if Mowgli can get 2 wins in a row and stay in the lineup. Certainly looking to have him as that fantastic sub that you can bring out even in a big playoff match. So good to put that pressure on him as well. But either way, the game is about to start, guys. Game number 2 of BBQ versus Afreeca. Let's get into it right now. Fans coming out in full force tonight for both of these teams. Ghost doing the Ezreal thing. It looked like Afreeca maybe wanted to catch him out, pushing towards the bottom side.
Not being a very successful pick for BBQ. The Ezreal, 1-4 on the season. This comp has certainly a lot more damage on the side of BBQ than what Afreeca is flexing on the Rift. Kramer goes down in a team fight, and we're 30 minutes in. Damage is certainly lacking, apart from the initial burst coming through from Kuro. You think about how BBQ are going to play out this game, very similar to some of the comps we've seen today, where Ezreal takes over the game in the early game with their cheap 2 items, and then Azir comes online later in the piece, and Crazy and Trick largely going to be about zone control on the Swain and the Zac respectively. Swain's role in these comps is going to be, you'd imagine, for pushing in the top lane, because on 8.5 there is even lower cooldown on the Q. He can basically use it every 5 seconds or so. It starts at 5.5 and goes down to 2.5 seconds. So lane control on a Sion, difficult for most champions to achieve. It's certainly something that top lane Swain can do. The only issue you see is that champions on BBQ, if Zac is not getting on to Jinx, no one is. And Jinx, if she hits her items, should be very safe to do the Jinx thing. We all know what happens when she gets excited. So it's going to be largely about shutting down Kramer or trying to decide the game before the Kramer 3 items is online.
We'll see if BBQ can actually rise to the challenge and pull off a composition like this. Interested to see if the Swain can get any damage through this very heavy tank line. Definitely going to be something to look at. I was hoping and wishing for the Anivia. It made a lot of sense, but Temsazir also seems most comfortable on the pick. So Mowgli looking for an early gank onto that pushing Swain you were talking about. He avoids so much of the vision here, actually all of it, and he's going to come on in, and ooh, Roar the Slayer does miss. Small nerf on that patch, by the way, and Crazy locks him down. They will get the flash, at least, to start off the game.
Might have been safe not to flash, but didn't want to take any liberties. We knew that, I believe, Q would have been on cooldown for a little bit longer, so gank wasn't going to register, but the double-edged sword of being a good pushing champion is you're also the sort of champion that gets ganked a lot. Think of Swain like Rumble in that way, as he's even better at pushing than Rumble is these days with Rumble's long cooldown on the Flame Spitter. Forced to use the flash, going to be on the defensive side. Also saw the Roar of the Slayer nerf in effect. Doesn't hit every time you casually throw the E in a direction.
Trick trying his hand at hanging around here. Pool party Zach having a fun party with whatever that is in the pool, but
it's a rubber ducky, I believe.
Okay. Either way, no gank comes into effect. And you notice the area on Kuro. Definitely going to be nice in terms of the shields he's going to be offering a little bit later as well.
Bit surprising to see the Summoner Airy onto Crazy. You look at the enemy team, slows are of questionable values. The phase rush is pretty standard. You could say slightly deprioritized, but the slow reduction is only one half of the phase rush. The movement speed to sidestep the Q after a trade, or potentially the Sejuani coming in, can be very powerful. I know I'm personally a big fan of the phase rush, but theoretically, the Summoner Area will give him more lane presence in a range versus melee matchup. Sion takes so little damage that making it stick, that's the hard part.
He certainly does not take any damage. I mean, you do a bit of your harass. It's hard to really keep up your mana sustain to a level where you can push a Sion out, even with the Summoner Area. After you get to a certain level, the area doesn't really, you don't really feel it as well, because the Sion just gets even tankier. So I heavily agree with you on this point. I think it should have been the phase rush here.
And then, of course, the Sion build is Catalyst into Banner of Command, and then Swain's really frustrated trying to deal with the Banner of Command minion in this double AP comp from BBQ. So that is definitely what's on the menu here from Keen, and will allow the first rotation in most of these fights to be on the side of Afreeca Freecs.
We saw that Tempt went back home and he picked up a second Doran's and Boots and extra pots. He's up to 3 right now, whereas Karma went back at a similar time and picked up a tier. So, bit of a difference in there. Definitely gonna heavily favor Kuro, as I suppose Tempt will have a better laning phase, but certainly the scaling will go in the advantage to Kuro.
Didn't want to buy a couple of daggers or an amp tome, I guess, on the side of Tempt, so in the end, like you mentioned, doesn't feel like a good buy, but didn't have the best options available. Going for the Stinger first. Going for the all-in.
Yeah, looking for it here. The Zac is a little bit far away as the push was not enough, but Kuro is getting low here. Mowgli making it in to save his life just in time, but Kuro did have to blow the flash.
Get the summoner they wanted at the start, as Kuro tried to hold on to that, but the moment that the Q registered, the stretching strike from the Zac, had to use the summoner. Now 2 very gankable champions are down a flash. It's back to mid lane.
Well, you can make this return gank work, but the Karma is just so
Look who's
tanky.
here.
And look at this, Sion coming in, forcing the flash, but Trick in a lot of trouble. He's gonna eat another Q and an auto, and he even flashes to try to get out of this one. We'll see if he can actually execute himself. It may actually be able to happen, but Keen is coming back.
No home guard buff, so it's going to take the Sion a while to get there.
What is going on in this game? Trick is just going for a walk. Okay. Well, eventually the passive is going to come through, and I hope nobody TPs in here. Thankfully, no one had it available, or we might have seen it. First blood comes in, goes over to Kuro, as he's the only one that picks it up.
That's the first time I've seen a Zac who wishes his passive was down, so he could actually execute himself. The passive being up trolled him. There was no ability to get out, so some comical stuff there from Trick. We needed some comic relief on this day, so thank you, Brother Trick, for that one.
he's doing his job. You know, he knows the memes himself. He's like, well, gotta go for it. Looks good, right? They get back on the flashless Karma, but then the Link comes in and heals up Kuro and Sion with the first roam TP down on Swain, and well, kind of find yourself in a bad spot.
The Sion was the one that won them that trade because Tempt had to fully disengage with his flash. His secondary summoner didn't matter. It was only Doran's ring and no daggers onto the Azir, so he didn't have the damage to kill us. Of course, it's Trick who put down the challenging smite, but wasn't realistically going to be able to kill with the Skirmisher's Saber. And then the comical chase that eventually ended up with the first blood onto the Karma. Here are the runes coming through from Jinx. She knows her job. The cut down, the Legends Bloodline, to survive through. And then the absolute focus for the extra damage at high health because, like we mentioned, if Zack's not hitting her, no one is. So staying at high health, very realistic for this Jinx.
Okay. Presence of Mind too, just to make sure she can consistently put out the rockets in long fights. Certainly the most late game carry focus build we can see from a Jinx. Doing her best. And already things looking pretty good for Afreeca. The farm in the bot lane is going very, very even. There's no big advantage to the side of BBQ. The Ezreal hasn't popped off just yet. Also the failed gank helping out Afreeca so far.
Still excited to see what the build path is for Jinx. When SMLZ played it for Rogue Warriors, as we're rudely interrupted by the Scion, it was triple Zeal item because of the ability to play around the... That was amusing. I saw the...
Stop the back.
He did, actually. But
God, Sion's so annoying.
You go triple Zeal item, and then you're able to get the max value out of the Get Excited, removing the attack speed cap. But always arguments for a more standard build, even on the Jinx. In bot side, haven't seen a Tucson lane gank onto Ghost just yet. But always a possibility with the Abyssal Voyage.
Might even see him travel up to other lanes, as they do have control of the river for now, but it looks like they're just trying to bait in the bottom side. Mowgli is going to be on the duty here. No flash on Tempt, but he does have his cleanse if the Sejuani got in there.
Seems like an ult would only draw the cleanse, and doesn't seem like something that's going to actually help Kuro in the lane too much, so no real need to invest it there. Go for the world's slowest Ocean Drake take if you want.
I mean, they have 4 control wards in the river, so literally BBQ cannot see anything. The ward comes down and they don't see much. Trick gonna have to face check in here. Does see the Ocean Drake take. So Afreeca will say, okay, we will just back off of this one. We'll respect your push.
Lose some control vision through all of that. Builds are still to be decided on the Swain, given it's such a new pick. It seems like tier into Rod of Age is going to be the build from Crazy. Could also be tier into Abyssal Mask, I guess, as an option as well. But the tier is something that's seen as a luxury for some people. I remember back to the last tier and Rod of Ages meta, and that was the Kassadin in the mid lane, stacking it up. Very, very different meta with how strong Archangels is just straight up. So a bit of aggression from BBQ.
Trick just coming by. They were thinking about maybe a play, but with the Tom Kents and all the summoners available, already the cleanse is taken on Tucson too. So he's saying, I will always get my Jinx to safety.
No hope of Azir having lane control in this game. The nerfs to the damage on the Q at level number 9. Plus, has had 2 shops, and neither of those shops have included a Stinger. So very much on welfare when it comes to actually putting together the Nashor's Tooth. Will be late, and Karma already has an oppressive pushing phase, so in general, no fun there as Ignar gets the dream, gets to freeze up the minion wave and not be interrupted or killed as many other Korean supports have had to deal with.
Finishes up that Iceborne Gauntlet. Does the Ezreal, trying to get him online as soon as possible and try to eventually make plays. We talked about how the Ocean Drake is kind of the sad Drake of the bunch. Certainly the worst one. I mean, if you get it early, it's still good in terms of helping out in the laning phase, but even then, when you want to stack up your Infernals or even your Cloud Drakes at this point, as of course, in combat movement speed is quite nice. Keen doesn't care about the damage, but I feel like Crazy doesn't to an extent as well as he pops his ultimate.
which is frustrating for Keen. He'll disengage. Second part of the ultimate, the northern front Swain looks really awesome in that one when he ascends. Well, we're looking for a lane gank in bot side. Not spotted yet. But we'll see if the 2-item Ezreal can be used, because there's one thing about buying 2 items, another thing about actually getting value out of it.
Oh, Ghost. He doesn't know just how close he is to danger.
They have no idea, of course.
There it is, and oh boy, no response. Can he get out? The knock-up from the Braum. There it is, the Arcane Shift into the Flash, and he will survive. And looking for a counter-engage here. The Devourer comes in. Zach trying to help out, but a TP now from the side, knocking the heads together. There's a big kidnap and even a flash out of Mowgli. Tempt, not confident enough to come in and help out, actually, in the end, as Kuro got there first.
Yeah, Kuro completed the teleport. Keen did not use his. No damage, take them down. BBQ had no ideas. Ignar was well out of position at the start. Not able to do anything. They end up trading flashes on the AD carries as Kramer had to respect the elastic slingshot coming in. That ended up more even overall. You definitely take no flash Ezreal over no flash Jinx. Something to return to for Trick, especially as he crests level 9 and that massive engage range on the elastic slingshot.
Well, the bottom lane goes back, and BBQ start up the Ocean Drake here. We'll see if Mowgli wants to go in. He's a little bit low on health from the last push, but the TP actually comes in from the Scion, and they say, no, we want the Ocean Drake. Let's see if Trick can pull off the steal. He's not even going to go for it, as the Ocean Drake...
It's very confused.
Yeah, it's leashing a bit here. Going to take Afreeca a little bit longer, but will be theirs in the end.
Cloud will be the next one, the all-important Cloud Drake. He's now in combat as of patch 8.5. Sounds like we're memeing, but actually is really good on this patch. Kramer and Tucson walk up. Turret's still very healthy, predictably, from Ghost. Again, what I was mentioning before is 2-item Ezreal is something that some Korean teams have been expert at using. Afreeca and Kingzone come to mind. And a lot of other teams around the world have struggled. Ezreal's definitely looked down upon in a lot of the LCS regions for just being outscaled. Power of 2-item Ezreal and the early nature in which you become by far the strongest member on the Rift at 2 items needs to be wielded, and a lot of it is multi-step. A lot of it is, I have my Mana Moon, it's about to transform into Muramana, gank bot lane, let's take the turret and rotate up the Ezreal. If those steps don't come together, Ezreal's going to get outscaled, because that's just the reality of the champion.
Trying to get that Muramana eventually online here. We're still early on in the game, only 15 minutes in, and there was only 1 kill. It's funny to see that even though that kill did go over to Afreeca, BBQ is in parity in gold so far. Mowgli going to take this opportunity to come up to the Rift Herald, as there's actually no vision around that objective so far.
Keen doesn't have his banner of command yet, so laning phase pretty annoying against Crazy. It's surprised he just didn't sit on Catalyst, but if you're a team comp with Karma, you can understand the 10% damage amp being relevant if they want to look for earlier fights around the Drake, and they did complete the teleport and actually try to make that play happen. If Herald taken by Afreeca.
Got that Oblivion Orb next onto the Karma. Don't see it too often, but when you're going up against a Swain, certainly can help you out there.
Swain and Zach pretty big on the healing, so I agree. And the moment that he went for early Archangels, it seemed like something like Athene's would be deprioritized overall. Trick comes into lane, trying to make something happen. I guess they're anticipating a Rift Herald being plopped somewhere else on the map, but all they really do is help Ghost push in.
Zero action, really, outside of that 1 play in the bottom side with the Sejuani. Wasn't even on the side of BBQ, trying to be proactive and cut down onto the Jinx. It was actually Afreeca going aggressive. So the Jinx just sailing along. The minutes pass. The Gathering Storm gathers in more than one way for this pick.
Definitely the blue side comp here from Afreeca is one that on first inspection you say, well, they'll be outscaled, but that's not really how it works with Jinx. She is supremely powerful in the late game. Sheriff having a great game on Jinx in the ELCS just this last weekend. If you cannot close in on the Jinx, she will hard carry the game at 6 items. So scaling's kind of a weird thing to consider between the 2 teams. There's much more diverse damage portfolio for BBQ. Just the reality that getting on Jinx is Zac only when it comes to their team comp makes it very difficult to see how Kramer doesn't pop off once he hits his items.
Well, they're looking for it now as Afreeca is looking for first turret blood in the bottom side. Crazy forced to pop his ultimate here, but not much to get some health back on. And as Keen is actually beginning to chip away at the Swain's health, not something you see too often.
It's Comet from this Ion, respecting the fact that there's only healing on the ultimate coming through from Crazy and the Catalyst as well. Afreeca looking for the turret dive here.
Yeah. Bringing in Mowgli, spotted on a ward, so they will take the 650 gold over to the side of Kramer, who is very happy to pick that up. You'll notice still no boots on him. We'll probably get it the next time he goes back, but picking up the first turret blood and actually moving towards mid lane right away. Kramer gonna get hit by this as the Rift Herald coming in. They wanted to go for a fast push. Kramer is gonna be safe in the end. Nice play there by Tucson to get him to safety.
Zion.
There's the Zion in the front line, and oh boy, FLICKR taking a ton of damage here. There's the stun, and Kuro will pick up the kill. Down goes the turret, and another member of the side of BBQ, and they're still pushing.
Super assertive rotation coming through. A second one.
They link on a ghost, and this Tom Kent's just doing wonders for them. Trick is getting so low.
The minion wave catches up as well. They get 2 turrets out of nothing.
It's a never-ending push. There you go. You get a kill and 2 turrets just like that in a blink of an eye. Afreeca say, this is our map now.
Did Shelly just get a 1 health
Yeah.
dive in? That's Shelly. She deserves a raise after that one. Watch the replay. It's so awkward for Trick because he uses his Elastic Slingshot, but he's slightly too late to interrupt the Rift Herald spawn. Goes into the backline, gets nothing, ends up just being a zoning play. Sion comes in. Only 1 person is hit. Thankfully, no real damage coming out yet from Kramer when it comes to the Super Mega Death Rocket. They get the first turret. Shelly keeps pushing, and BBQ lose 3 turrets in 1 play.
It's pretty unbelievable what they're able to do here. We always talk about how the Tom Kent is fantastic for helping out your allies get to safety. You can have some decent lane presence in certain lanes, but then you look at plays like that with the Abyssal Voyage and teams that use it together as a team entirely, and you're like, whoa, this pick actually has so much power when you use it correctly.
Banner of Command completed for Keen now to make him very happy in the 1v1 lane. Smite away by Mowgli. Steal away the red, and Afreeca just continue to play the map game. 2 items and boots 2 onto the Jinx. BBQ need to come up with a very quick plan to kill the Jinx. Otherwise, this series is definitely going to be killed, and Afreeca will go on to guarantee 2nd spot on the ladder.
Yeah. Cloud Drake going to be taken just by Kramer. Looks like finally Keen is coming on over, but Mowgli, he steals the red buff, goes top, and helps push with that red buff. Gets it very low, drags BBQ's attention up there, and objectives are being taken all over the map. I guess this is what it feels like when you go up against a team that are just so good at controlling the entire map. The objectives just melt away from you as you wonder, you're just left wondering what exactly happened to this game. Looking for a plant attempt now.
He might just be taken out here. Karma's still around. But nice little shifting sands.
Yeah. They could have tried to ult in there, but
Cleanse is there. So.
It's really far away too. It's just not going to happen.
And you keep using the word, team performance, a team, and that's what Afreeca really wasn't in the previous years. You think in 2017, as the ult is casually dodged there by Tempt. If I think about Afreeca in 2017, I think of that one great Marin game, that game that Kuro popped off against FLICKR, Kramer's great game. I don't think of team performances, whereas this year, it has been everything together, and that's the big compliment to Afreeca. And I think, honestly, you look at the talent and say Keen came in and did better than expected. Absolutely true. I think, honestly, the biggest compliments needs to go to the change in coaching staff. They bring in 2 coaches, bring in Comet coming over from Jin Air, and also Zephyr, who came from Kongdu Monster, who always had a really high reputation as a coach. And the amount they've been able to square up this team and make them a true 5-man roster rather than necessarily just some stars popping off one day and having low performances the next. They've gone from the meme team of winning perfect games in game 1 to almost always losing game 2 to being super consistent, and making that happen so quickly is something that really needs to be encouraged.
I feel like Kramer's having a little bit of fun here as he's running in the face of everybody and now eventually pops out, but Tucson had to give his life as they were looking down the barrel of 5 BBQ members. Kramer eating a lot of damage there. Doesn't look like they can quite go to Baron just yet, but Kramer certainly was having his fun in the face of everybody.
Backs away for a moment, but Afreeca actually looking for control on the left side. A lot of people got chunked out. This Trick is on very, very low health. Nice pick up a pick though. BBQ once again stave off the perfect game with that play.
Yeah, so gonna come in here eventually. Tom Kent does respawn, and he's got smite. By the way, I want to point that out. We've been seeing a lot of double smite, and usually it's been on the unsealed spellbook supports. And Tucson, we talked about team, here we go again.
And Tucson was the one who flashed over and stole it on the blitz crank last time out for Afreeca Freecs. It's Kongnu Monster, I believe. Good that you caught that one, sort of thing that goes amiss with these support smites. Their Baron speed is really just going to be Jinx, so it is still a relatively fast Baron, all things considered. You make the wrong engage against this team and Kramer doesn't have to flash away, then suddenly the mantra AoE shield and movement speed comes on and you die. So BBQ have to be so careful on whenever they dive in. But they can't also afford to give up map control any more than they already have. 3 outer turrets down, the inner turret in mid lane. So many places to put down vision for a flanking play, and also lots of drifting areas for the Scion to come through. So BBQ right now trying to get any vision they can, fighting for this Rift Herald.
Girl looked like he was in trouble, but actually it looks like BBQ that's in trouble. Ghost getting stunned up for ages. The heal comes in, but there's no escape for him as Keen says hello, and down he will go. It looks like also Trick getting baited in here will go down. That's going to be 2 kills immediately going down, as well as their jungler. And Afreeca could very well look to push onto the Baron now.
And they will. Azir was in the top lane, nothing he could do. Sion wasn't there for the previous fight. Azir's not there for this fight. Afreeca's communication is just a step ahead of BBQ. It's another one of these Ezreal games where they got no value out of the pick because Afreeca are ahead of the play. Temp could go for a big play, but what will it accomplish?
Trying to go for a big play against double smite. Not necessarily what you want to see, but he didn't go in, he didn't go all in or suicide or anything like that, so all is right in the world, and the Baron will go over to Afreeca, who is truly running away with this game. It's not even really the super scaling of the Jinx composition that's making it happen either. It's just better overall team play early on.
Shot calling, I think, has been the big lead. We're going to watch the replay. It looks pretty innocuous at the start when Kuro has his head knocked with the Rift Herald, with Scuttler, but then comes Keen, drifts in, Ghost chunked out instantly, dies mostly the Scion damage of all things. They can chase on easily with a second kill as well. They're just in such beautiful synergy at the side of Afreeca, and you know, you keep complimenting them because they can win in many different ways. This is going to be a Kramer-focused game if it goes late enough for that to actually be relevant. They can win with top lane carry. We've seen Keen carry. Kuro is joint MVP leader with the support of all people. It's just a total performance from Afreeca this season outside of a couple of missteps. That people have very high expectations for them, even though it'll be their best-of-5 debut as an org. This team has never played a best-of-5 because they've never gotten that far in the LCK.
Yeah. So funny to see. Certainly they've improved overall, as we've said. The kidnap comes in and they catch a Sejuani, but Tucson's right there. And the damage trade is heavily in favor of Afreeca. Keen is laughing in the face of the Swain, who can do nothing against the bannered up minion. The Baron will just give it some range and let it do its thing. No extra damage on this patch, but oh boy, Ghost, he's not having the most fun game so far, Pop.
And will we see Crazy be in a team fight and do something? Because so far the answer is no. Game may be ending before the Swain even gets relevant. Going in for the second turret here, as multiple members are sent topside to answer the Scion for some reason. They're having a dance party in front of the Banon minion until Trick can smite it finally.
Yeah. They sent 2 members over there trying to gank Keen in the top lane, and well, Keen just laughed in their face. His Scion play has been spectacular. He can play carries, he can play tanks. We've seen that many times from him, as it looks like he's looking for a win on his 8th game of Scion. So See what they can do. Afreeca with still a minute left on the Baron, looking for a second inhibitor in the mid lane.
Pushing up now, Zach, they're in position.
They're gonna come behind onto Kramer now. No, Devour finally at the last second, but look at Ghost and Tempt. They're totally out of the fight. Trick is gonna go down as well, and Crazy finally gets a chance to do something. But is it going to matter is the real question. The answer, of course, will be no. As the double kill goes over to Kramer, they laugh in the face of the Swain as they're looking once again for the second inhibitor.
Look, Swain looked very dapper in his ultimate, but sadly, there's nothing behind it. Ghost has been completely shut down, even though he's on the Ezreal with the early power spike. Afreeca Freecs looking for the close, and the guaranteed second place spot.
Looks like they're gonna get it. Kramer and Jinx are all getting excited, as are the Afreeca fans, as they're gonna be securing second place with this victory. They want more kills. Tempt, they're gonna make it interesting with one last bouncy castle, but Kramer is not gonna go down. The shields for days, and the Afreeca Freecs will secure second place with the Nexus going down.
Second place means they will be one best of 5 away from playing the grand final, and for an organization that's been around for 2 years, they have made it to every playoffs and lost in the wild card match every time. They've never played a best of 5 outside of the World's qualification, and they've never won one of those either. For the side of Afreeca Freecs, big story is they finally get to push forward, make a dent into the finals, and they are guaranteed top 4. That is their worst possible finish on the season.
It's gotta feel good to have a season like this after many times just barely falling short. Kuro looking extremely happy. I struggled to find one MVP. We talked so much about team play. It really was a team performance. I thought the Scion from Keen was really the one thing that stood out to me. I don't think Kramer on the Jinx really carried it. I think Tushin probably had a good game as well. Stood out a little bit more than Kuro, which I'm sure will not be too happy for Kuro, but either way, we will get another MVP here. BBQ, with that loss, still have a chance to go down into relegations, but they have to have a pretty poor performance against Kongdu Monster, which a lot of teams have been having trouble finding a bad performance against them.
They definitely seem to be in a position where they will go through unscathed because of strength of schedule. In this replay, need to find a way onto Trick, but no let's bounce. Relative safety, they hold on to the Devour, and then Ghost is already out of the fight, Tempt is already out of the fight, only tanks, and Jinx has a happy time shredding down those this early in the game. They make these Jinx comps look easy, they make them look early game as well. Afreeca Freecs deserve all the praise, they deserve their second spot finish, and I'm just excited to see more of them come the best of 5s, because there's a world where Afreeca goes to MSI despite all the roster changes and the offseason.
Certainly could happen. I think if there's one team that can challenge Kingzone at this point, it is going to be Afreeca. It's hard not to get excited. I mean, it was just Afreeca versus BBQ, but it's not just this game. It's over the course of the season. They have looked so good, and just another fantastic performance to cement that idea.
And it's good to know that it's not Katie Rolster, so getting excited is fine. You can be excited about Afreeca Freecs.
Jump up and down.
There are no memes around that, so Afreeca takes your excitement, they thank you for it, and they take second spot overall. By far their highest finish in the LCK. Well deserved. Jinx did a lot of damage at the end, but the game was decided by map plays, as you mentioned, Valdez, much more than just the Jinx hard carry. She was the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. As BBQ had a Swain, you wouldn't know it because unfortunately he was never involved in the game.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see how Afreeca set their draft into place as well. They draft all the pieces of a composition of a Jinx comp, and then finally it gets back to them and they pick the Jinx and Karma to solidify that composition, and didn't seem like BBQ caught it out early enough. They banned the Caitlyn and the Camille, which can you really blame them?
But the even better part is, Valdez, they weren't pigeonholed to go in that comp. Karma, Jinx is a great round for protect the Karma comp, but protect the Jinx comp, but it didn't need to be that. It could have been a more laning-focused AD carry and a more standard mid laner, but the first round was powerful and also flexible. And being able to turn it is credit to the coaching staff to be able to actually find a win condition that answered the 4 picks that BBQ had already locked in.
Yeah, the players are playing well. Tushin and Kuro are just extremely consistent. Of course, Keen
sounds like Spo TV need more time. I guess the MVP is going to be a really important one here.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I was talking about it before, definitely to pick one guy, but certainly everybody's very consistent, and the coaches are doing their job very well. The MVP is going to be Keen again. I thought it should be him. He had another fantastic performance. You can't deny him the MVP. That means that Kuro and Tucson will remain tied.
The one time that Afreeca Freecs have not had an MVP go to Kuro or Tucson, I believe that's never happened this season.
So.
Obviously, with their 18 MVPs between the two of them, hard for anyone else to get a look in. But you could argue that neither of them were the most important player in either game. So our MVP leaders go frustrated. That means that Kingzone will be in a great spot to answer one of those 900-point leads in the next series. But it seems like the interview's ready to go, Valdez.
Yeah, so let's hop over to it. I'll hand you guys over to Ji-sun for the translation.
오늘 2대0 승리를 거둔 아프리카 프릭스, 오늘 승리를 이끈 선수가 여러분을 기다리고 있습니다. 함께 만나보시죠.
자, 빠른 경기 패턴이었습니다. 오늘 경기 2대0으로 승리를 따내면서 완벽한 경기를 보였던 아프리카
It was a
프릭스.
perfect game from Afreeca Freecs.
긴 선수입니다.
Congratulations on the win.
박수가 굉장히 필요해요. 긴 선수가 지금 MVP를 받고 떨고 있거든요. 먼저 승리 소감 부탁드릴까요?
How do you feel?
오늘 이기기만 하면 2등 확정짓는 자리였거든요.
So it was really important for us for making it to the second spot. I'm really happy for that.
어떻게 보면 2등을 만든 것 같은 MVP는 그런 존재니까 약간 내가 2등 메이커다라는 느낌을 좀
So
받는 것
I
같아요.
think you were the most important player today to making it to second place. How do you feel? I feel really happy.
오늘 사실상 1세트부터 상당히 좋은 압박감을 많이 심어줬었거든요.
So moving on to games, you did give a lot of pressure to your opponents.
과정들도 굉장히 좋았었는데 어떻습니까? 오늘 1세트의 목표나 목적
So what was your goal for the game one?
제가 게임 시작하기 전에 초반에 탑을 풀면 게임 편해질 거라 했는데 그걸 재하 형이 잘
Well, I had asked my Mowgli to a little bit camp in the top lane for me, and I think he really did it for me. That's how we got such an easy win.
그 장면들 중에서 기억나는 장면이 있으면 뭐가 있을까요?
So is there any moment that you especially remember
바론 쪽에서 제가 이니시 걸 때? 그거 좀 아쉬웠어요.
where I opened Teamfight at the
좋은 거,
Baron?
좋은 거.
좋은 거 딱히 기억 안 나요.
Well, I
그래서
can't really
우리가
think of one.
하이라이트를 만들어놨지요.
So then let's take a look at the highlights.
지금 자 볼까요?
Let's take a look.
이 장면 기억나세요? 일단 뒤를 잡는 장면이 있는데 저희가 1, 2세트를 한번 뭉쳐서 한번 말씀을 드릴게요. 이때는 넘어갔을 때 고스트를
So do you remember this moment? You took down Ghost over there, and at this moment you sidestepped Azure ult.
제가 바론 첫 번째 장면에 제가 바론
Well, the
쳐라 했는데
first clip,
너무 빨리 들어가서
I
그것 때문에
told
조금
my
아쉬웠던
teammates
것
to
같아요.
rush the Baron, but I think I went in too early, so I feel I'm not really that satisfied with that.
자크가 너무 크게 들어와서 이거 한번 볼게 하고
And that moment, I think Zach came in too deep in our position, so I think that's how we win the team fight.
팁들이 있었다. 그래서 그런지 오늘 경기 끝나고 나서 많은 팬들이 긴 아무래도 그 아이디가 좀 짧다. G가 필요하다 이런 얘기를 했어요. G가.
So a lot of fans
끝에 G를 붙이면
think that your ID should be turned into Keen, from Keen to King, adding G in the end.
높은 평가라고 했거든요. 여기에 대해서 어떻게 생각하세요?
So how do you feel about that?
그냥 뭐 좋은 것 같아요.
Well, I think it's good.
아직까지도 굉장히 많이 조심스럽긴 한데 사실 긴 선수에 대한 기대치는 처음부터 있다고 제가 지난번 인터뷰에서도
Well, we already
말씀드렸잖아요.
told you that a lot of people
경기가 잘 풀리면
have
사실
high
내가 그거보다
expectations
말할 수
on
있는 거
you.
아니에요?
아직까지는 부족해요.
I can't really say that I'm the top
네.
조금 더 올라가야죠.
player of
더 올라갈 때가
LCK.
있습니까?
I still need to
이렇게
get better and
조심스럽게 말하는
improve.
이유가 있습니다. 아마 혼자 있기 때문에 이런 어려움을 겪지 않을까라는 생각이 드는데 지금 분명히 누가 옆에 있으면 힘이 크게 될 것 같아요.
Well, I
좋을
think
것
you
같아요.
feel a little bit nervous at the interview, so we're gonna
크로,
help you
크로,
out
크로 선수입니다.
inviting
오준환
someone to the
크로 선수
interview.
만나볼까요? 네. 그러면서
Kuro,
축하드려요. 5주년 축하드려요.
congratulations on your 5th year anniversary in LCK.
아니요. 아니 뭐 축하받는 자리인데
네.
먼저 5주년 축하 말씀드리겠습니다.
감사합니다.
오늘 정말 많은 팬들께서 또
So
응원에
there are a lot of
더불어서
crowds
많은
out here
응원을
for you to
해주셨는데
support
5주년
you,
기분이
cheer
좀
for you.
남다를 것
So how do you
같습니다.
feel?
되게 오래 해먹었다.
Well, I guess I've
네.
played in the league for a long time, but still I have only one trophy,
올해는
so
좀더
I want to
오래
make
해먹을 수 있을
more
만한
victories
느낌이 좀 옵니까?
from now on.
느낌이 살짝 오고 있어요.
And this
네,
year, I
그나마
think
오늘
I have
경기 진짜
a feeling that I'm gonna be winning
사실
more
오늘 그 크로
splits.
선수의 그 벨코즈의 활용 능력들도 있었고 전반적으로 이제 카르마로 뭔가 얹혀주는 장면까지 그러니까 쿠로가
So throughout the game, you did perform really well
다른 느낌의 오늘 쿠로를 볼 수
and
있었거든요.
kind of try some new play style.
어땠습니까?
뭐 카르마 픽 같은 경우는 그냥
So
저희
for the
동훈이를
karma
믿고
on mid lane,
맡긴 픽이기
I
때문에
trusted in Kramer on the bot lane,
것 같아요.
and I want to give credit to Kramer playing Jinx.
벨코즈는 이제
And
그냥
Vel'Koz,
좋아서
I think
한것
it's
같습니다.
a good champion on mid lane, so yeah, that's why I picked it.
그래서 힘이 좀 됐나요? 미드 지역에 크루 선수가 있는 것만으로도?
So how was having Crow in the mid lane?
사실 그
He performed so well, so it really helped me a lot.
선수하고 같이 경기를 펼친다는 것도 쉽지 않잖아요. 아직 1주년이 안 됐잖아요. 한 얼마나 했죠?
저 이제 8개월, 9개월.
I think I only played in the league for 8 or 9 months.
어떤 느낌이 들어요?
그냥 오래 한 사람.
So playing with someone like Crow, it just feels like, yeah, I think he played a lot for a long time.
당연히 축하 선물을 준비를 해봤습니다.
So we want to give you some present for Crow.
미안한데 기인 선수 좀만 도움 줄 수 있겠어요?
아이고 감사합니다.
이게 무슨 공통점이 있을까요? 이 박스 안에 들어있는 게?
So we just literally grabbed every
뒤집어서
snack
봐요.
in the
뒤집어서.
store
아니 본인이 뒤지면 안 되고.
that has the letter 5 in its name to celebrate your 5th year anniversary.
뭘까요?
그러게요. 뭐죠?
Can you see them?
5가 들어갑니다.
아.
오렌지.
So the letter O stands for 5 in Korean.
오 스퀴드, you know. 아 그래. 다양한 5가 들어가는
All the snack has O, which means 5 in Korea, in their names.
다시 한번 5주년을.
So congratulations on your 5th year anniversary.
미안해요.
아 감사합니다.
네네네.
Thank you very much.
일단 받아주시고. 사실 뭐 저희가 이거 드리긴 했었습니다. 저희 마음이 더 중요하니까. 인체 무해해요. 인체 무해하니까.
And those notes are harmless to you. And
감사합니다.
I really want to say congratulations on your anniversary.
제 나이가
So it has been 5 years,
5년 정도 더
and
프로게이머가
I
가능할 거예요.
think that I have 5 years left as a pro player, so I'm gonna do my best till my 10th year anniversary. Thank you.
킹 선수 역시 킹 아니겠습니까? 킹.
The Keen.
네.
Any last message?
미안해요. 뭐 매번 성공하나? 일단 우리 긴 선수. 많은 팬 여러분께서 이렇게 크게 응원을 보내주고 계시는데.
Well, you have a lot of fans out here cheering for
한
you.
말씀 말고 이왕이면 두세 말씀 했으면 좋겠어요.
이제 2위도 확정됐고.
So we did take the second spot, and we got 1 series left.
좀 즐기면서.
So I want to enjoy the rest of our spring split.
자신의 모습들을
Thank you very
보여주겠다는
much.
긴 선수의 이야기까지 한번 들어봤습니다. 자 이렇게 해서 오늘 크루 선수
So it was a
그리고
very meaningful day for Kuro and Afreeca Freecs.
네. 그리고 긴 선수까지 만나봤습니다. 오늘 멋지게
And this will be the end of the interview with Kuro and Keen from Afreeca Freecs. So I'll pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Well, it was another Spo TV interview, Papa. It's always very enjoyable. We had a bit of a fiesta in the game as well as Afreeca. Oh boy, it was just a fun one. Afreeca.
I forgot this
having
happened.
fun. Yeah, that was at the beginning. You
Well,
guys might have forgotten.
Of all the Spo TV interviews, that was definitely one of them, Valdez. As we celebrated for Kuro's 5th anniversary. And Keen, well deserved. Some great drifting on the Scion. Didn't have to put it mid lane. Allowed them to play the Karma Jinx, and oh boy, the BBQ looked devoid of ideas on how to answer that. BBQ, mathematically at the moment, are going to be in that 9th and final relegation spot. But they do have Kongdu Monster as their final opponent, and MVP have a much more difficult task in their final game against SKT. So if results go as expected, BBQ will finish 8th and avoid the relegation spots. Sadly, for the side of MVP, they will be in their first relegation tournament after being in the LCK for 4 splits.
We'll see how they do in that one. If it does come to it, you know, who knows? Maybe MVP defeat SKT. Anything is possible. But here, BBQ versus Afreeca, you couldn't have really expected BBQ to win it. It was another 2 quick games. One of the shortest days we've had here at Spo TV. Last game being 28 minutes. Afreeca do secure their 2nd place spot. And as I said it before, they certainly look like the one team that can challenge Kingzone in this season specifically.
But it's so weird that they'll be playing their first ever LCK playoffs best of 5. You never know what happens there. It'll be Keen's first best of 5 in the LCK playoffs as well. There's always that chance. You remember Peanut's first series in a best of 5. It wasn't one to remember.
They play Mowgli, and maybe he has a rough game.
Exactly.
You never know.
It works in the regular season. Now, the semi-final they play will be here at Spo TV, actually. It'll be the semi-final a week before the final, Sunday, I believe, before the Saturday Grand Final. So that would make it the 8th of April, if my memory serves well. But then from there, can they make the performances happen when they need? So guys, just to confirm, Afreeca Freecs 13-4. Theoretically could end the season 13-5, but if they lose 0-2 and KT win 2-0, the game score by Afreeca will be higher, and our first tiebreaker after match score is game score, so no ability for KT Rolster to move above Afreeca. And they do play each other on the final day in a match that you and I will bring, and it will be a very interesting one given the stakes will be very low, but the implications will be very high.
Yeah, should be a big one, and you know, the bottom of the table certainly looks figured out, considering if everything goes according to plan. But the middle there, 4, 5, 6, 7, we still do not know who is going to be in the 4th and 5th place spot. Certainly SKT and the other 2 teams above them have a good chance to make it.
Crazy thing is that if KSV lose both their matches, they're probably out of the playoffs, and SKT and Rox Tigers will move above them. And first match tomorrow for OGN, KSV versus Rox Tigers. Playoff implications in every game that KSV, Rox, and SKT play mean that we still have high drama to bring you, and also that relegation battle down the bottom.
Yeah, we're not going to have 5 tiebreaker matches, but certainly the last week is going to be exciting. And who knows, maybe we get 1 tiebreaker match. Not certainly sure if that could happen, but yeah, I'll be watching. I think that it should be KSV and Rox. That's my prediction. It's unfortunate to see that maybe SKT fall down this time around, but they do have MVP. And if they do get the 2-0, it does mean that they did their best in their final match, and they give themselves a chance to win. They also got Kongdu on the last day, so certainly are 2 teams they should beat in the last week.
Looking at the scenarios, from my understanding, SKT winning both their matches means that they need Kingzone to do them a big favor. Kingzone needs to do a big favor and lose to KSV for KSV to qualify, depending on how the Rox result goes as well. The SKT, with easy schedule, winning 2-0, 2-0 against MVP and Kongdu Monster, they're not quite in playoffs. There is a scenario where they aren't there. I know you guys, it's very hard to follow because there's so many different variables, but right now SKT, it's an easy schedule. If they 2-0 MVP and Kongdu Monster, there's a very real chance that despite everything, what has been by far their hardest split, they might make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to this last week. I know a lot of people are cheering for SKT. Some people are cheering against them. They want to see some change in the LCK. Any predictions on what you think as the teams to actually make it in? What are you thinking, Papa?
I think Rox SKT is the most likely, but KSV win tomorrow, they're in. So I'm going to say KSV SKT. That means we get KSV versus SKT, a World Finals rematch as a best-of-3 to just open up the playoffs. Then the hype only gets bigger from there, and whichever those 2 teams qualify, are they going to be able to beat Afreeca and Kingzone? Your first thought is no, so you want change, there might still be some change coming.
Yeah, KSV versus Rox, obviously going to be a big one tomorrow to decide those places. But guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you once again, Papa, for casting over here, and we'll see you guys next time.
This is the day I find a better way. I'm gonna keep on running, and I'm not gonna stop.
네, 오늘의 두 번째 경기 BBQ 올리버스와 아프리카 프릭스의 경기는 아프리카 프릭스가 승리를 가져갔습니다. 네, 오늘 패배로 인해서 BBQ 올리버스는 강등에 빨간불이 들어오게 됐는데요. 8위인 MVP의 경기 결과 그리고 BBQ 올리버스의 홍두전 경기 결과에 따라 이들의 잔류 여부가 결정될 것으로 보입니다. 네, 끝까지 선수를 향한 많은 응원과 따뜻한 관심 부탁드리도록 하겠습니다. 저는 일요일 오후 4시 50분에 다시 인사드리겠습니다. 지금까지 아나운서 김세연이었습니다. 함께해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다.